Thank you. Leader to respond.
Can I first of all join with Senator Éireann in offering our sympathies to Fidelma on the very sad death of her brother. And can I also welcome Rose Bearford, who is here on work experience as a transition year student working in the Seanad office. She comes from County Wicklow, and I want to wish her well and hope that she has a pleasant experience in the Seanad office. And I know that she will learn a lot working here during the course of her week. Can I thank the 10 members of the House for their contribution to the order of business? Can I just begin in terms of Senator Arda? Government are committed to ensuring that every child with special education needs receives a thorough, proper education, linked to Senator Gallagher's contribution. And that is why we've seen since 2018 the budget increased to 1.75 billion, which is a 43% increase since 2011. It's 18.79% of the education budget. And indeed, since 2011, the number of special needs schools has increased in both Dublin and across the country. And indeed, if you look at the 37 special schools, 235 special classes, and in County Dublin, 66 ASD special schools increased classes rather increased from 66 to 195. But there are issues that both you and Senator Gallagher have addressed that need to be tackled in terms of CAMS in particular, and it is a source of worry, Senator Gallagher, that there is a waiting list and that there is issues around CAMS. I think some of it has got to do with the way in which we categorise and diagnose people now as well, but I think there is a need for more resourcing and more resources, but it isn't as simple as resources, and it is not just that one-dimensional point that you speak about. In terms of the early childcare matter raised by Senator Arda, I'd be happy to have information given to you on that. Government, through Minister Sapone, are very much targeting the early childcare sector because, as you all know, and we all know, early intervention.
Not enough places for newborns.
I'm going to come back to you on that. I haven't got to reply. I haven't got to reply to hand for you, and I will give you the reply to that. But early intervention, in terms of the not intervention, but early years formation is important in terms of the early intervention, and the early investment is critical. But I'll get the information for you on that. And in terms of WhatsApp that you and Senator Crockwell raised, it is important that the Data Protection Commissioner, who is working with the organisation, counteracts to any type of infiltration of our data, and it is a source of worry, and it does highlight the dangers that are with some of the new types of technology that we have. The Minister for Housing will be here later on to answer Senator Crockwell and Senator Gavin regarding the matters of housing. Senator Gavin, in his one-dimensional Sinn Féin speech, always comes in and talks about the philosophy of Fine Gael. Well, the philosophy of Fine Gael is to give people the society in which they can live, grow, develop and flourish. That is what we are about. That's why we have more people back at work. That's why we have the highest housing budget, which you speak about. Construction is happening. It is slower than we hope. You have one-dimensional approach to housing, which is to have everything in the public domain. That doesn't work. It hasn't worked. It has never worked. It's a combination of everything. We'll have that debate with the Minister again later on. And I look forward to hearing, further from you about your proposals and policies in regarding the issue of housing that can help address the matter, because putting down simple motions doesn't address the issue of building and of having people whom we all meet every day and every week in our work taken from bed sits or from family hubs or from hotel rooms into proper accommodation. We all accept that it's slow, and none of us are hiding the fact, Senator Gavin, that we have a housing need that needs to be addressed, but it can happen just like that. We have seen an investment and increase in housing budget, and if you travel to my city in Cork, I bring it to many sites where there is social housing being constructed, where there are people being taken out of homelessness, and where the budget for housing and homelessness has increased. And I'll gladly bring it to Cork to show you those sites. Senator Crockwell also raised the issue of the Defence Forces, and we'll have that debate with Minister with Minister Keogh in due course again. And we all look forward to the publication of the Public Sector Pay Commission on the matter. Senator Éireann, I'd be happy to accept your amendment to the order of business and thank you for bringing your bill forward. Senator Norris Cahill raised the issue of insurance. And Minister Darcy has been in the House here a couple of times in recent times in the matter. The issue of the issue of insurance is one that government are committed to tackling. There is a political will to solve the issue that you raise. I think there's a compendium of matters that we need to address in terms of the costs being awarded by the courts. Government are bringing forward 4 pieces of legislation which will have a positive outcome and effect on the insurance area, in particular the Judicial Council Bill, not the Judicial Appointments Bill, just the Council Bill. And the Minister and Government are determined to resolve and to solve the problem. I think we all must agree the level of awards is one such worry. The compensation payment culture is one that is, I think, one we need to address as a society, both from a legislative point of view, but from a cultural point of view. Secondly, the Personal Injuries Commission, which made 44 recommendations, as you know, and I think the figure, in terms of soft tissues, by comparison to the UK and Wales, about 4.4 times higher, is a source of worry. But also, and critically, the insurance companies have a role to play as well. And I think there's a case going to the European courts this week in terms of monopoly around the insurance. But they have a role to play as well, and they can't be left off the hook either. I will have the Minister, if you pass me on the details regarding St. Teresa's School, I will personally take the matter up to the Minister for you. Cahill Senator Burke raised the issue of the FAI and not wanting to stray into the internal issues of the FAI, the Football Association of Ireland. Those of us in this House who are sports people and who are interested in the welfare of all sports, but in this case of soccer, I think recognise that the FAI have a job of work to do themselves to clean up their own house and to restore confidence by all of us in the way in which they manage their affairs. I don't think it's helpful if there's any outside influence by some political quarters or by whoever trying to, bring undue influence in the FAI. There is a concern being expressed that there could be a suspension of UEFA money, which I think amounts to about 16 million to the FAI. And I would hope that all of us involved in politics, be it from a government point of view, from the House of Oireachtas, will allow the FAI to appoint their new CEO, to get their house in order by putting a new board together and by bringing in new governance structures. It's important that we recognise that the work being done on the ground is of enormous benefit to many communities across our country. And all of us want to see a vibrant, strong FAI with proper governance, proper adherence to governance, and that means that means working with UEFA, and I hope that will happen because I think the suspension of any kind of funding, further funding, doesn't help the game of football at grassroots level. Senator Murnane O'Connor Cahill raised the issue of Bagnallstown rail station, and Senator Humphreys raised the issue of unmanned stations. I'm not familiar with the situation. I know that the increase, there was a new schedule added to Bagnallstown, which was welcomed by many people, which showed that the Irish Rail were committed to the route, with a new 7:10 departure from Bagnallstown, which you didn't mention in your contribution.
I'm sure you'll have another outing on it. Leader will have response.
But where I do agree with you, or I do agree with you, Senator Murnane O'Connor, is that there is a movement away from the interpersonal communication. If you now dial any sort of an organisation, and I think Eircom have become appalling in terms of their customer care, and indeed the banks as well, where there now seems to be no interface with the person. It's all through a machine, it's all through a phone, and you could be in an inordinate amount of time being put on hold with no resolution. And I would hope that we will not lose that personal communication and that interface. And I think the point you make regarding the self-service kiosks is one of a worry, because there are people who are in a hurry, who haven't got the capacity in some cases to be able to use the machine, and I think it's one that we should look at as a society. And I've made the point here on a number of occasions that you can walk into many banks now, and they don't want to see inside there at all. And on a personal level, I actually refuse to go on Banking 365. I'm a Bank of Ireland customer. because I want to be able to go in, and I know I'm probably old-fashioned and on that, but I want to be able to go in and speak to somebody rather than going through a machine or an online. And I know it might be the way to go, but I think there are many people like me who prefer to go into the bank, and I make no apology for that.
I agree with you.
Leader, based on your contributions here, I can understand why they want you to go 365 online.
You could very well be right, Senator Gallagher. Senator Boyhan Kyle raised the very important issue of climate change, and I'd be happy to facilitate Minister Bruton coming back to the House. Senator Humphreys, to be fair to him, had a very good suggestion, which we had done prior to the Christmas recess in terms of rolling debates on climate change, and we'll come back to that again. But we'll arrange to have Minister Bruton come back to the House, because the issue of climate change is a very important one. Senator Humphreys very positively welcomed the publication today of the new ambitious metropolitan strategy for Cork. And it is an ambitious transport strategy, Cardiff, which I want to welcome as well. The 1 billion light rail network proposed for Cork is both innovative, it is, I think, necessary, and I do hope that we can see the period of consultation extended, as you rightly said, Senator Humphreys. I would exhort all involved to extend that consultation period, because this is about the future of Cork. This is going to 2040, and I think the more engagement we can have, the better we have as an outcome for our metropolitan transport strategy. You know, it's an investment of $1 billion in light rail, 545 million in terms of an input of bus connect. We're extending the number of routes from 14 kilometres to 100 kilometres, and increasing walking and cycling propositions to the people of Cork. And I want to welcome it, Cardiff, and to commend those who were involved in the draft publication. But we need to get this right. And if that means extending the consultation period, then let's do that. We saw the benefit of it in Dublin. I know that Anne Graham was on the news at 1 today making comments about the listening to people, and I think it's important that people are listened to. And finally then, Senator Gallagher, I think I answered you in terms of CAMS, and again, I'd just be happy to accept Senator Éireann's amendment to the Order of Business, Cardiff.